Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us for an Australian Payments Plus on-demand webinar today. Firstly, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. We extend that respect to all Aboriginal people present for this webinar today. I'm Tina Meizer, and I am joined today by my colleague Neal Freeman. We are from Australian Payments Plus, and we are proud to be hosting this webinar as part of the 2023 New South Wales Small Business Month program in partnership with the New South Wales Government. Australian Payments Plus is a relatively new company which has brought together the three large companies of BPay Group, FPOS and NPP Australia, together to deliver innovation to the Australian payments economy for all Australian consumers, businesses and government. Under the AP Plus umbrella, we have a host of well-known products and brands, including Beam, PayID, Pay2, BPay, and FPOS. Today, as part of New South Wales' Small Business Month, we'd like to share what PayID is, how PayID can be used, and the benefits it can bring to small businesses such as yours. So let's start off with what is PayID. PayID is a product that uses the real-time data-rich payments infrastructure that is the New Payments Platform, or NPP for short. PayID is a simple way for businesses to accept payments from customers in real time and is available from most financial institutions in Australia. A PayID is just an alias that is linked to your bank account and can be used to direct payments into that bank account instead of using a BSB and account number. Now, don't worry, BSB and account numbers are not going anywhere, and people can still continue to make payments to your BSB and account number as they do today. PayID is just here to make it simpler and safer. PayIDs are registered within your internet or mobile banking, and typically there are 4 options to choose from. These include phone number, email address, ABN, and organisation identifier. You can speak to your bank to understand what is available to you. PayID is open for business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, so your business's cash flow will continue on even at 2 a.m. on a public holiday. So how does PayID benefit you? PayID has a number of great benefits for small businesses. As I said, payments are made in real time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year, so you can get paid immediately. Your customers have peace of mind that you will receive their payment by seeing your business name presented to them before the payment is made. PayID payments are made from your customers' online banking, so it's secure. It's easy to set up in internet or mobile banking for you. There is also a benefit in terms of the data that can travel with the payment. The payo can include a much longer description, up to 280 characters in fact, including emojis, which can better help you identify who sent the payment. There is no subscription or extra app or terminal required for your customers to use. They simply pay you from their usual bank account. One of the main reasons PayID was developed was to help reduce mistakes and fraud. This is done through the confirmation step before a payment is made. The person who makes the payment to you can check that their money is going where they intend it before it leaves their account. This also helps the issues that we have seen previously where a payer may accidentally make an error when entering a BSB and account number. It does make it hard to retrieve those funds. PayID is increasingly being used by small businesses to receive payments in real time. Our website at payid.com.au has a PayID in action blog where you can find out how other small businesses have been embracing PayID as a great way to be paid. Here we see a couple of examples, including a candle maker, a coffee courier, and a photographer, all using PayID as an easy and fast payment option. So, ready to get started? First, register your PayID with your bank. This can be typically done using your usual internet or mobile banking. If you have any issues, please contact your bank for assistance. They can help you further. Once you have registered your PayID, you can then download and use the PayID marketing kit available on our website at payid.com.au/PayID for business. You can add posters to your shop front or logos to your invoices to let your customers know that they can now pay you using PayID. Now I'm pleased to hand it over to my colleague Neal Freeman to talk you through another great way AP Plus is helping small businesses across Australia.
Thanks, Tina. As Tina mentioned, I'm Neal Freeman, one of the Business Development Managers at Australian Payments Plus. Today I'm speaking on FPOS and Merchant Choice Routing, or commonly referred to as MCR. You may be thinking, what is Merchant Choice Routing, or MCR, and why is it relevant to your business? MCR can help reduce the cost for businesses to accept contactless debit card payments, also referred to as tap and go, by allowing the merchant to send transactions through the lowest cost network. MCR applies to dual network debit cards. You may not be sure what they are, but these cards have a Visa or MasterCard logo on one side and an FPOS logo on the other side. FPOS isn't a merchant terminal, it's the Australian's domestic debit card network. It was launched in 1984 and it revolutionised the way Australians could pay by being the first to introduce a fast, simple and secure electronic payment system. FPOS is committed to doing the right thing by our fellow Aussies. That means we invest our revenue into finding clever ways to keep you secure and save you money. In Australia, there is approximately 63 million debit cards on issue. These are a mix of proprietary FPOS cards, multi-network debit cards, and prepaid cards. Approximately 2/3 of these debit cards are multi-network debit cards and are MCR enabled. This means that 44 million cards are available to be routed through FPOS. Around 75% of Australian retail transactions are made on debit cards each year. That's a considerable amount of transactions, and why it is important to understand how MCR may assist to reduce your merchant costs. Up to 2010, consumers had a choice to select the network they processed debit transactions on. As a consumer, after inserting your card, you would choose either savings or cheque for FPOS to process the transaction. Or if you wanted the international schemes to process, you would select credit on the terminal. From 2010, it became issuer choice, card issuer that is. Contactless or tap and go was pioneered by the international schemes, Visa and MasterCard. The issuers at the time were initially only able to offer contactless transactions through those two international schemes. This meant that FPOS could still only be used by inserting a card into the terminal, which was still a consumer choice. Coming to 2017, merchant choice evolved. This allowed FPOS to process contactless or tap-and-go debit card transactions for the first time. Businesses could now choose to route transactions through the lowest cost network and help reduce their merchant costs. So how does MCR work? In this diagram, you see a simple version of a process flow for a debit card transaction. Once your bank has turned on MCR for the relevant merchant IDs, you'll commence processing debit card transactions via the FPOS network. How does MCR benefit you? As a merchant, you can choose to send transactions through your preferred debit network, or you can save on merchant fees for contactless debit transactions. Please note, any savings is really dependent on how your bank acquirer has your merchant facilities priced. Potential benefits for customers: by managing payment costs, a consumer can also select a particular debit network when inserting a card, for example, savings or cheque. That transaction will be processed through FPOS. When turning on MCR, it won't affect any security and fraud protections you currently enjoy. Those are all the same with FPOS. And finally, why not start supporting Australia's debit system? MCR was introduced to create competition in the Australian marketplace for debit card transactions and to drive down the cost of acceptance. The RBA heavily supports MCR and encourages the adoption of it. By turning on MCR, it's supporting Australia's only domestic scheme. This helps FPOS to continue to develop innovative products and reduce the cost of acceptance. There can be quite a variation in merchant service fees. The cost of acceptance can vary between FPOS and international schemes. The RBA monitors the average fees for debit and credit cards in Australia and regularly provides the average fees on their website. As you can see in the right-hand corner, as at July, the RBA published the average fees for the three schemes, with FPOS being the lowest cost on average at 0.28%, followed by Visa at 0.46% and MasterCard at 0.5%. Merchant payment costs are influenced by pricing plan types. There's three pricing types used for banks and acquirers. The pricing type adopted is influenced by the volume of transactions. The first one, fixed or simple plans, is where they charge the same rate for all networks, cards and transaction types. An example of this would be a fixed 1.5% for all transactions regardless of the card type, whether credit or debit card. Secondly, blended plans. This is where the acquirer may charge a few different rates, each of which may cover a number of networks, card and transaction types. An example could be 1.2% for credit cards and 0.6% for debit cards. Thirdly, unblended plans. This is where the acquirer may charge the merchant the wholesale cost of each transaction, interchange, and scheme fees, plus an acquirer margin. This is known as interchange plus or interchange plus plus pricing. An example might be a margin of 0.4% plus the interchange fee plus the scheme fee. If you're wondering what the interchange fee is, that's the fee that is paid to the card issuing bank for each transaction, and the scheme fee is paid to the scheme, whether EFTPOS, Visa or MasterCard. Are you ready to get started? MCR is currently available in-store at the point of sale, or POS. A business can opt into MCR for multi-network debit cards at the POS. Also, MCR is now available for online and e-commerce transactions. In the past, MCR was only available in-store with a physical card. Now it can be enabled for online purchases. So how do you turn on MCR? The only thing you need to do is contact your bank or acquirer and ask to have MCR enabled. For any other information, you can visit our EFTPOS website. Thanks for listening today, everyone. If you do require more information, please visit our website or contact your bank and have a discussion with your banker.
As Neal said, we really appreciate your time today, and please contact your banks to understand more. Thank you.
We are Australian Payments Plus.